On his first day back in the White House, U.S. President Donald Trump wasted no time in changing things around. While his inaugural speech did not mention Ukraine, he later brought it up at a rally and in Oval Office remarks, promising to end what he called needless wars, like Russia's invasion of Ukraine. When asked if he would end the war in Ukraine on his first day as president, a reference to his campaign promise of ending the war in 24 hours, Trump responded with a smirk.
Well, this is only half a day. I have another half a day left.
But when pressed further, he avoided specifics. Instead, he repeated his campaign promise to act quickly, saying,
Well, we're going to try and get it done as quickly as possible.
One of Trump's first executive orders was to suspend all foreign aid, including to Ukraine, for 3 months. It's unclear how much designated aid would be impacted. In 2024, Washington enforced a near-absolute embargo of Ukraine aid for 5 months. Many military analysts said this led to battlefield losses. However, Trump made a rare acknowledgement that Russia was responsible for starting the war, stating,
It should have never started. You know, the war with Ukraine and Russia should have never started.
But in a remark at a news conference on January 7th, Trump also claimed that U.S. support for Ukraine's NATO membership played a role in provoking the invasion.
A big part of the problem was Russia for many, many years, long before Putin said you could never have NATO involved with Ukraine. Now, they've said that that's been written in stone.
Ironically, Russian President Vladimir Putin also voiced an interest in Russia joining NATO during the early days of his presidency, answering why not when asked by a BBC reporter in 2000.
Почему нет? Почему нет?
But back to the present day, Trump's proposed Ukraine envoy, retired Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, has outlined a peace plan that involves territorial concessions for Ukraine in exchange for a ceasefire with Russia, with Kellogg naming his personal and professional goal to end the war within 100 days. Trump's first mention of Ukraine upon his return to office came during his criticism of NATO. He demanded that NATO allies increase their defense spending, stating,
NATO has to pay more money. NATO has to pay 5%.
He argued that the U.S. had spent $200 billion more than NATO, calling it ridiculous. Trump has long been skeptical of NATO, once again threatening last month to pull out of the alliance if European countries failed to meet his spending requests. At the time, he questioned why the U.S. contributes more than European nations, saying,
Europe is much more affected than the United States. We have a thing called the ocean in between us, right? Why are we in for billions and billions of dollars more money than Europe?
NATO formally supported Ukraine's membership during the 2008 Bucharest summit, but has yet to extend a membership invitation. Multiple NATO officials have claimed that Ukraine's NATO path is irreversible after 2022, but how that would play out under Trump remains unclear. Trump also commented on Russian President Vladimir Putin's position in the war. When asked about his strategy for dealing with Russia and Ukraine, Trump simply said,
I have to speak to President Putin. We're going to have to find out.
He then suggested that Putin's situation was deteriorating, stating,
He can't be thrilled. He's not doing so well. I mean, he's grinding it out, but most people thought that war would have been over in about 1 week. And now you're into 3 years, right?
Trump then made an unverified claim about the war's casualty numbers.
We have numbers that almost 1 million Russian soldiers have been killed. About 700,000 Ukrainian soldiers are killed.
In December, President Volodymyr Zelensky said 43,000 Ukrainian troops died, with another 370,000 injured, in a rare statement on Ukrainian casualties. During his remarks, Trump added that despite Russia's larger military, the losses were unsustainable.
Russia's bigger, they have more soldiers to lose. But that's no way to run a country.
On Ukraine's stance, Trump suggested that President Zelensky was ready to negotiate, but he wasn't sure about Putin, stating,
Zelensky wants to make a deal. I don't know if Putin does. He might not. I don't know. He should make a deal. I think he's destroying Russia by not making a deal. I think Russia's going to be in big trouble.
Trump was also asked whether he would continue imposing sanctions on Russia or shift toward tariffs. His response,
Well, sanctions or tariffs. I think the word tariff is much better because it keeps your dollar stronger. I think tariffs are more effective.
he did not elaborate on how tariffs would replace sanctions. Trump's remarks signal a shift in U.S. policy toward the war in Ukraine, focusing on negotiation rather than military aid. However, key questions remain. What would a Trump-brokered peace deal look like? Would NATO allies support his approach? And how would Russia and Ukraine respond? As Trump's presidency unfolds and passes the 24-hour mark, the world will stand witness to how he would fulfill his promises to seal a peace deal on Ukraine, and how long that deal might last.